guys, in this episode of Plumbers Thoughts On, I'm gonna be sharing my thoughts on the 16th episode of the 11th and final season of one of my favorite shows ever, The Walking Dead. And I gotta say, this episode kind of both followed the trend that we've been having for this second third of the season and didn't follow it. It followed it in the sense that it definitely felt like a better episode. Compared to episode 15, it felt more exciting and more fun and more entertaining overall. But at the same time, it didn't really live up to my expectations to what I wanted it to be and what I thought it was going to be, judging by certain people on Twitter's opinions about the episode who had seen it and did a spoiler-free review kind of thing. But it was still an overall very entertaining episode. And the biggest reason why it didn't meet my expectations for a mid-season finale is because nobody fucking died. Why? If there's one thing that I feel like Angela Kang can't fucking do is stakes with our main characters. I feel like either Gabriel, especially Gabriel, but also Aaron have been telegraphed to die this season. And neither of them died in this episode? Are you kidding me? Why? Why did we end up killing the random, barely named character of Marco in this episode? And also in a very obvious way. Come on, man. And I'm not gonna act like that death doesn't bother me, in the sense it doesn't hurt me, I'm sad that he died, because as minor of a character as he is, his actor did the best he could with the role, and he was impactful enough for me to actually remember him, you know? He's actually a surprisingly impactful, glorified extra. So I'm definitely sad that he died, because I liked him. He was a likable character. But god damn it, the cast is already fucking bloated to the point that we don't see a lot of our characters for extended periods of time. For example, we haven't seen Yumiko in 8 episodes. We saw her in episode, what, was it episode 10? I think episode 10 was the party episode, and that was the last episode we saw her in. Where the fuck is the actress? Why is she not there? Luke. The last time we saw Luke was in episode 16 of last season. And it's not necessarily all these characters are important to the plot and have to show up in every episode, but for crying out loud, kill characters. Stop shipping them away to bring them back eventually. If you're gonna remove a character, kill them, for crying out loud. So at least we could have some semblance of fucking stakes. Because that is the biggest issue with this, because there was no stakes. Maggie was obviously not gonna die, so I didn't feel scared about her dying when she was fighting Leah. God damn it, we can't fucking even kill nobodies. And when we decide to kill nobodies, we barely gave them character development or any fucking amount of screen time, so it doesn't hurt as much as it should. When we killed Alden earlier in the season, cool, he was dead. It was fucking telegraphed from a mile away, and he didn't really get that much screen time in the first place for that half. If he was gonna die, at least give us the screen time. And he was a character that was almost in the fucking in the fucking title credits. He was almost there. And yet he barely got any screen time. And same for some of the other characters. At this point I feel like Angela Kang is not really doing a good job balancing all the characters and their screen time. Pick characters who are going to be the main characters. Pick characters who are going to be the side characters and give them fucking time accordingly. For crying out loud. And then at the same time, you go and focus on this other random bullshit that we don't give a shit about. Why did we have to waste 2 episodes on fucking Toby? The ex-CSA guy. CSI guy. Why? Why did we have to spend 2 episodes on that shit when we could have spent 2 episodes with Yumiko or 2 episodes with Luke? For crying out loud. It's really fucking bothering me. And with that run out of the way, I do want to get into more of the positives about this episode. Because it definitely felt like a high quality episode, and it had a lot of the same vibes that we had in the calm before from season 9, episode 15. One of the best episodes of the show. I fucking love that episode. It definitely had a lot of the same eerie, foreboding vibes. I really, really enjoyed that about this episode. Like right off the bat in the beginning with like the locusts, which why the fuck did they not end up playing into anything? And it's pretty much confirmed that they will not be playing into anything. They're just there for aesthetics essentially, which is dumb. It really should be foreshadowing for something in the future. Like I don't know. With what we had with the season finale, season and series finale of World Beyond, why couldn't you signify that as like a foreboding, foreshadowing for the future of the zombie apocalypse in the Walking Dead, in the USA? But yeah, it was just glorified set dressing, but it definitely added to the atmosphere. I'm not denying that. I just wish it was actually more than that. And yeah, all across this episode definitely had a lot of foreboding and bad feelings about it, but it was definitely an exciting and entertaining episode. It's just that I still don't think it really surpassed episodes like 12 or 14 for me. I still think those were better, but this, I guess, or should I say those episodes were more impactful and enjoyable, but I feel like this might have been a little better. I don't know, it's kind of complicated trying to figure out exactly which descriptors I want to use for the specific episodes. Because in a way, episode 14 felt like a more higher quality, like a more fleshed out, more polished episode that actually impacts you and that you actually feel the weight of the characters' actions and the events of the episode. But this episode, I feel like the atmosphere was better, the foreboding feeling was better, and all the character development and stuff was better, and I really enjoyed it. Because like moments like I said in the beginning when we see Lance walking at Hilltop, and then when Hilltop house gets blown up, it really brings me back to the good old days of The Walking Dead of like season 6, for whatever reason. But it brings me back to those days. It felt reminiscent of that. And I really, really enjoyed that. I think it was really cool. I really enjoyed the fighting sequence at the junkyard location where Gabriel, Aaron, and Daryl took out the Commonwealth soldiers. It was definitely a really cool sequence, and I'm glad that everybody got some really cool moments, and not just Daryl. Aaron got a cool moment. Gabriel got a really cool moment as well. I really enjoyed that, but I really fucking expected for at least one of them to die in that scene. So that kind of ended up being a little lame in that regard, but whatever. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Although I do want to say and question something about the characters, with them full on rebelling against the Commonwealth and even going as far as Daryl shooting Lance. What does that mean for the characters left at the Commonwealth? What does that mean for the kids that Daryl takes care of, aka Judith and RJ? What's gonna happen to them? What's gonna happen to Gracie? What's gonna happen to Coco? I feel like, especially in that situation, Daryl wasn't thinking, so that definitely felt like good old Daryl, who doesn't think before he acts, even though I feel like he had outgrown it at this point, but I guess fucking not. And ultimately, I do want to say that despite my issue with the fact that characters didn't die in this episode, or at least like relatively major characters didn't die in this episode, the ending fucking hits hard. Seeing Alexandria, Hilltop, and Oceanside get taken over by the Commonwealth, especially with that music there, it really fucking hits hard. And I also just realized one of the reasons why I think this episode felt like the good old days of The Walking Dead, because some of you might have not noticed, but in the old days of The Walking Dead, even as far as like season 6, whenever the characters would be walking in the forest, instead of just having music playing in the background, the ambience was actual nature noises. And I miss that. I really fucking miss that. I want more of that again. Because I feel like that made it feel much more grounded and relatable and interesting. And I really enjoy that. And with this episode having the locusts flying around all the time, it does make it sound like that, even though there was music throughout the whole episode, and it was good music, don't get me wrong, but that was also another positive about this episode. But the ending, man, really fucking hits hard. Like, I really felt like somebody had died when I saw the communities get taken over like that. We've never had that kind of takeover before, so yeah, I definitely did not expect for that to hit as hard as it did, though. So there's that. Yeah. I guess the only other notable thing about this episode that I should mention is the exchange between Maggie and Negan, where Negan says that Herschel doesn't trust him because Maggie is asking him and Anik to take care of him while she takes care of Leah. And Maggie responds, "But I'm starting to," which is kind of insane that she's actually saying that. It's Maggie we're talking about. She's starting to trust Negan. I mean, that's definitely building up for like the spin-off, and after that scene, it definitely makes it more believable that they would actually be traveling to New York together. But I'm curious how far they would actually be pushing that relationship between the two of them, and how close are they actually gonna get, you know? And I guess I do also need to say that Leah's death was fucking satisfying as all hell. I loved seeing the blood pop out of her face, and I've definitely I've seen some people talk about that death is very likely an adaptation of a certain death from the comic book. And some people say, oh, that's not what it is. It's very unlikely that it is because it's so loosely adapted. But it's almost shot for shot from the comic book. It's just that the context is wildly different. And if you don't know what that scene is, spoiler alert, but I am going to spoil you the comic book. In the comic book, Rick kills Dwight by shooting him in the head from off screen after he is trying to kill some other main character, which in that case was the leader of the Commonwealth. In this case, Leah gets shot by Daryl, who is off screen, while she is trying to kill a main character, aka Maggie. So it is kind of loosely adapted, but we may still get that scene from the comic book. It's just that the way it's shot and the way it's done, it's very reminiscent of that. So it's very likely the adaptation of that. And also, I really love at the end, again, to repeat about the communities getting taken over, when we switch to Oceanside, where Lance is holding all of Oceanside tied up, and he's throwing up a coin like fucking Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face. Like, I was actually genuinely scared for that community. Haven't they suffered enough at this point? Yeah, that was pretty cool as well. We had also some shit in the Commonwealth, but nothing really too interesting in my opinion, or at least major enough to mention. Like, sure, we are building up the resistance, and now Connie has written about Pamela and about Sebastian sending Rosita and Daryl on a hunt for money. And that was also part of the impactful ending scene, but nothing really particularly interesting from that sequence that I want to mention other than that, I guess. So yeah, overall, pretty exciting and fun episode, but definitely not as much as I wish it was. But I do enjoy it more than I did for episode 15, because for episode 15, there was a part of the episode where I felt like it was dragging, whereas for this episode, I haven't had that feeling. And that is pretty much true for episode 14, episode 12, and episode 10 as well. Whereas for episode 9, episode 11, episode 13, and episode 15, I have had moments in the episode where I'm like, is this not over yet? While I've had the opposite experience with the other episodes where I'm like, oh, come on, it's over already? But yeah, overall, pretty entertaining episode. And I liked it. but not again not as exciting as I wish it was, and that's honestly part of the course with the season, because it's not a bad season. I'm pretty sure on a rewatch it's gonna be actually really enjoyable, but it doesn't really feel like a final season, and it doesn't feel epic enough for a final season. So yeah, that's an issue. Yeah, we have a decent amount of notes to go through. It might not seem that it's like that much, but I did obviously write on pretty much every row on this, so it's taken less space, but it is quite a lot. It's probably 2 pages of normal skip a row kind of writing. So before we end the video, let's go through my notes and see what I've written down. So the first thing I've written is, wait, what the fuck is this atmosphere? And I'm talking about the beginning where we see Lance walking from Hilltop and seeing like the locusts and the blood on the ground from Marco's head. Like, the atmosphere was really fucking off the charts, and I really loved it. And again, about that scene, I've written, what's with the locusts? Which we don't really get an explanation about why the fuck are there so many locusts. Why is Hilltop destroyed again is the next thing I've written, but we obviously get an answer about that in the episode. It gets blown up, which, by the way, now that I've remembered that scene, it is really fucking funny the way those Commonwealth soldiers led by Leah die at Hilltop. It's literally shot for shot that scene from like Home Alone, where one of the bandits opens the door and this flame torch burns his head. It's literally the same shit. And somebody on like the subreddit had posted a meme, but I couldn't find it afterwards after they posted it, but it was so fucking funny. Next thing I've written is, I'm getting some bad juju. Yeah, I was getting a lot of bad vibes early on in the episode, and it wasn't necessarily warranted because none of our main characters died, but yeah. Next thing I've written is, somebody is dying this episode. And yeah, some characters die. One very minor one and one main one, but it was a villain, which is pretty much part of the course for the last 2 seasons of The Walking Dead. It's just villains dying. Hell, at least Fear the Walking Dead had the balls to kill a dog. Next thing I've written is, that is gory as hell. And I think I'm talking about that Commonwealth soldier that got blown up in Hilltop. Like, that walker was so fucking well done and so good looking. I really love that. Next thing I've written is, man, I love the music in the background. And indeed, the music in this episode was definitely notoriously good. I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely getting some Pike scene vibes, which, like I mentioned, a lot of the vibes that I got in this episode were very reminiscent of the Calm Before, which is the episode with the Pike scene. I really enjoyed that. Man, Season 9 was such a fucking good season. It was so good. I wish we got more of that goodness, but Season 10 was worse, and Season 11 is also worse than 10, so yeah. It was just such a good season. Like, having such a good penultimate episode where it's refreshing, like the cool shit is happening in episode 15, and then such a unique episode as episode 16 as like the winter episode. That was so fucking cool. Next thing written is, starting to get closer with Negan, huh, Maggie? Which I already talked about that scene, so I'm not gonna repeat it. Next thing I've written is, cool gunfight, which again, I already repeated that. It was a really cool gunfight, probably one of the best ones on the show. Next thing I've written is, I'm so tense somebody is gonna die, because, like I said, I've been feeling and expecting for Gabriel to die for 2 seasons now. But he's still alive. He might die before the end of the series, but I guess he's still not dying. Next thing I've written is, I knew it. Marco was dead. And indeed he was. Next thing I've written is, for fuck's sake, don't split up. Like, that was the dumb decision. Like, towards the end of the episode, Daryl says to Aaron and Gabriel for them to split up so they can cover more ground. Which is so fucking dumb. As much as they try to make it sound logical, you are outnumbered by the Commonwealth soldiers. They are looking for you to kill you. Leah is looking for you to kill you. And you split up? Are you insane? Next thing I've written is, wow, one of them is definitely going to die. And again, I was fucking wrong. Nobody died. Next thing I've written is, man, this is so fucking epic. It's so tense. And I'm not sure what I'm talking about here. I think this is in regards to that sequence where Maggie and Leah are chasing each other in the trees, in the forest. That was definitely tense, especially because in that part they turned off the music, so it was quiet and it was unnerving, and I loved it. Then I've written, is that Leah's cabin? And yeah, I think it was Leah's cabin. Maybe it wasn't, maybe you guys could correct me, but it did seem like Leah's cabin there. And the final thing that I've written about this episode is, damn, I thought he shot him. I genuinely thought that Daryl might have actually shot him in the head, which he tried to do clearly, but he only shot him on the cheek and grazed him. But yeah, overall, pretty entertaining episode, but definitely we've had better, definitely we've had worse, so it is kind of middle of the road, ultimately. But in terms of its rating, I will go with an 8.6 out of 10, which I think is pretty high, but yeah. It was a fun episode, a lot of creative and a lot of very good atmospheric choices for this episode. But I just feel like the writing choices weren't necessarily the best. And I'm hoping that they're keeping the characters alive so they can massacre a lot of them in the final 8 episodes, because if they don't, I'm gonna be mad. And I get it. They cannot kill a lot of the characters at this point, because it just doesn't make sense for their characters. But it's gonna be really fucking annoying if none of the main characters, or at least no more than one of the main characters, dies in this final fucking season. But yeah, I don't know. What did you guys think about this episode? Comment your thoughts down below and let's have a discussion about it. And also, before we end this video, I just want to give a huge shout out to my currently one patron on Patreon, Deadpool. Thank you for your support, I really appreciate it. It really means a lot to me that you have decided to support me, you have continued to support me for such a long time. Hope you continue to enjoy my content and continue to support me going forward. Thank you very much. And now, before we end this video, I just want to talk about something to you guys very quickly. Which some of you may or may have not noticed before or know about me, that being the fact that I am trans. And yes, this may come as shocking to some of you, because I don't really flaunt it that much on my channel, or at least I feel like I don't. Outside of like my K-pop reactions, which is where I feel like the most comfortable being myself like this. And yeah, I am in fact trans. I'm not necessarily full-on male to female, but I heavily want to transition to being pretty female. I do consider myself more non-binary though, or maybe gender fluid would be the best descriptor as well, because I do have occasional moments where I feel fine being like just a normal guy, but most of the time, like right now, I do feel very dysphoric. And that's why I'm asking you guys for any help that you can give me, because my situation right now, I don't really see any way outside of you guys' help. Because, and this is gonna be kept short and concise, I live with my parents. They're never going to accept me as a trans person. They just never will. And as a matter of fact, back when I started the YouTube channel, I was actually kind of slightly starting my transition back then, with like starting to grow out my hair. I even got to DIY HRT, but because my parents started noticing certain things, like my behavior had changed a lot and my clothes had changed a lot, I kind of had to stop doing that, because they were constantly nagging me about cutting my hair, and just started to kind of be threatening in a certain way, and felt like they were ashamed of me and everything. And that just kind of stress just tired me out to the point where I just gave up. But as dysphoria goes,
it just doesn't go away, you know. I still feel like this, and in fact it's somewhat been intensifying again recently, so I just wanted to share this with you guys. And again, I would really appreciate any amount of support you can give me in regards to this, because I just don't see any way out of this. Because even if I moved out of my parents' house and got myself a job and everything, that's just not gonna work for long-term planning, because once I transition, it's like I probably will not be able to get myself a job, because my country is very transphobic. Nobody gives a shit about LGBT people at all. So there's not even much I can do even in terms of transitioning here. So yeah, I don't know. I just would appreciate any amount of support you can give me, be it monetarily or in any way otherwise. And this is not about boosting my channel or anything, or guilt tripping you with my sob story. I just wanted to get this off my chest and make my subscribers aware of the situation that I am in, and that I would appreciate anything that you guys can help me out with. It would mean literally everything. Like, for example, a friend that I made after starting this YouTube channel, my good friend Yuri, has been helping me out a lot. And I genuinely might have not been here if it wasn't for him showing up and befriending me. So yeah, this just went a little bit longer than I intended, but I would just really appreciate anything you can support me with. That's kind of ultimately what I'm trying to say.
And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Also, check out the link in the description to my Twitter if you want to follow me over there, and to my Wattpad where I post my stories, because in addition to doing all these videos on my channel, I'm also a writer. And if you want to enjoy my stories or simply enjoy my videos, you can head over to my Patreon or to my Ko-fi account, where I can pledge your support and help get the channel going, help support me so I can keep writing stories you enjoy. But if you don't want to do it, that's completely fine, because you help me out in other ways, like liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and especially sharing this video with somebody who you think might enjoy it. And I think this is pretty much it for this video, so hopefully I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye!